Hello, everyone, and welcome to the vast and ominous comic vault. It is I, Captain Logan, and as always, my co-host Austin.
How's it going?
What's up, man? Tonight we're gonna do a book that Austin has been threatening me with for quite a while now. Austin read this back. Austin, I want to say, did you read this in preparation for the movie when it came out, or did you read it right after?
Yep. No. I read this entire. I think just maybe like 10 issues or something past when Busiek leaves. So almost this full volume, but I know at some point, like I think that writer leaves and it becomes kind of a different book. So I haven't read that stuff, but most of this volume at least.
Tonight we're doing the original Thunderbolts, the first 5 issues, and the annual. And Austin, the way you were talking about this, I mistakenly thought that this was a short-lived book that was canceled prematurely and then maybe came back later with multiple volumes. This goes like 100 issues.
No, this book was huge.
I had no idea. It went. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Which it kind of explains why over the years there have been, umpteen iterations. It's like every era of Marvel past this has its own version of this team, and usually, like, I went and looked this up because I was curious. Usually, someone from the original team, at least like one member, is on it, but then later on, you sometimes don't even have that. And then most recently, they started bringing, like, old characters back again.
Yeah, and I've heard people theorize, because there's like a kind of a window where they start peppering in the characters that will be the Thunderbolts in the movie, and I've heard people say kind of cynically, like, oh, they were kind of peppering them in over a couple of years, being like, okay, this is what we know what we're gonna do, and we need to be able to justify what we're making. Who knows if that's actually true, but I mean, they've done stuff like that.
It's hard to say. It's very complicated. Like we want to go back to 1997 here pretty soon and start actually getting into this team. But I do want to kind of lead with this because it's interesting, and I don't know how unprecedented this is. Like, if we can think of another example where you get a superhero movie that's based on something that uses none of its original members. Because that movie has none of these characters, but they had been planning a Thunderbolts movie in the MCU a long time before we finally got it. So you go back, and when you first start, I think maybe the first member that's in that movie that shows up on a team is Ghost. There might be somebody before that, I'm not sure, but that goes back pretty far. But even that's like early mid-2010s, so like it's really hard to say if they're if it's a chicken and the egg thing. It's like, did they like you said, plant characters that they thought they wanted to use, or did they go to more recent members because those are characters that had been used more recently?
Yeah, and I mean, you can go back to the spoiler cast, and I kind of break down the ways in which they take roles and go, okay, like this character fits this role from the original team, and like a little bit beyond this. And
Ghost
like, kind of adapt it that way.
Ghost goes back to Dark Reign, so that's the 4th Thunderbolts team. So that does Dark Reign predates MCU, does it not?
Oh God, I want to say it's like 2009.
Yeah.
Is it not? Yeah.
So like they weren't planning a Thunderbolts movie directly after Iron Man. So that character, at the very least, we can be pretty sure was not there because of that, and she keeps showing up. So. Or a character named Ghost. Is that even a female character at that point? I don't know what Ghost is in the comics,
gender
honestly.
swapped.
Did they?
Yeah, no, Ghost is a guy in the comics, and he's an Iron Man villain. So Ghost is very different, but is what it is.
The first time you get Winter Soldier is the 7th Thunderbolts team, which is
I do got to mention though,
which is 2016, and so that's around the time they're already talking about a movie.
Well, Winter Soldier fits Hawkeye's role when he comes into this book, but also
he's
way
listed
later
as
into this book.
Sorry, he's listed as the leader of that team.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Which is what Hawkeye is.
But when
He
Hawkeye comes in, I don't know what
eventually.
he's doing. Like, have we already lost Zemo? That like, does Zemo leave the team at some point in the original book? Because that would make sense if
Yes.
that happens.
Yeah, so the way I'm doing this is like a two-parter vault, and we're
Hmm.
doing specifically the Zemo run years, which is from 1 to 12.
Oh, so he leaves directly after that. Well, that makes sense because he's such a like one-note rule the world kind of villain. So like, unless the Thunderbolts book was about him having some kind of gigantic, uh, like change, where he kind of finds his own humanity, and I didn't expect him to do that. Because this book,
Yeah, we kind of play with it, but
for most
yeah.
of these, yeah, I mean, like you still a residue of humanity in there in places, but I wouldn't expect him to full tilt become a superhero like some of these characters are going to. Because you can even tell from these first 6 issues that the kind of overall theme of this is fake it till you make it. Is the longer these villains pretend to be superheroes, the more heroic they become, which is a really cool gimmick. And it has a natural baked-in character arc for most of these people, and they're all changing at various rates and to various degrees, and they all have different motivations, and there's dynamics with different characters that get them there faster. So some over others. Some of them it's because they really actually enjoy going out and helping people more than they enjoy knocking down liquor stores, and then other people it's because of romance. There's a lot of that.
Ooh, yeah. There's a lot of romance in this book. But no, what was I going to say? Oh, yes, I wanted to say too. I think it's around like the 30 issue mark. There's a weird Winter Soldier like predates Winter Soldier thing, where there is an assassin that comes into the book that is theorized to be Bucky Barnes come back from the dead, and it's like kind of fascinating in retrospect.
Wow, they like predicted it,
Yeah, exactly.
and then
So I'm like,
that
wait,
actually
was
happens.
Brubaker looking at this and he was like, "Oh man, they should have done it." Like, is it a Hush situation? Where Hush kind of plays with the idea of Jason Todd coming back, and
Yeah,
then Winnick's like,
and
"Oh,
then
they obviously should have done that."
I thought it was DeMatteis that did that.
No, it was Jed Winnick.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever. There's so many
Uh,
names swimming around in my head all the time.
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Uh,
I don't know what I'm
but
talking about anymore.
Thunderbolts.
I'm just gonna say names anyway. Yeah. So let me start off by saying, and then Austin, you should give us a kind of a rundown of what this book is about. Most people
Yeah.
are probably familiar with the premise of Thunderbolts, that it's a group of villains that are scheming and manipulating the world into thinking that they are superheroes, so that they can kind of earn fame and prestige and set themselves up to be able to kind of get whatever they want. And for Zemo in particular, it's to kind of get his hands on resources, and he's got kind of this brilliant, and it is a really smart idea. This kind of brilliant notion of, well, instead of like, let's hide in plain sight, and instead of taking things, let's manipulate the government and the world to give us stuff, and that's and that's what he does here, and he does it immediately after the Avengers and the Fantastic Four have been lost in the Onslaught event, which, Austin, I've never read all of. Like, I've got it, and I've read like bits and pieces of it, but I've never read that
Yeah.
whole thing, and I always forget that they disappear after that for a while.
Well, yeah, because I think what they do is I think they just like weren't selling super well, so like they die and they like go off, and that's they get like rebranded, and I think that's when like Liefeld and somebody else takes them over and is like, we're gonna revamp it and do our own thing, and it's like a disastrous failure. While this, uh, was a really beloved book, and as you said, went on for like 100 issues, and so there's a point when the movie was coming out, when Liefeld was very vocal about like, boo Marvel, and he specifically kept attacking the Thunderbolts movie, and just one day it hit me where I was like, oh, wait a minute, You're still mad about this book outselling you, aren't you? Like that's the only reason that
That's
you're like that
hilarious.
harping on that one specifically, isn't it?
Well, and we say this all the time, but this ends up being a really interesting snapshot in time because I don't think people look back and remember how popular this was. Like I certainly didn't.
Yeah, and they like really stuck with the gimmick. Like I think they, if I remember right, I think they maybe like paid off journalists that kind of figured it out uh, to like not report on that was the premise for this book and things like that, just so they could
Wow.
have that big, final page moment in issue 1.
Yeah, and it does play like a big reveal, even though coming into this, obviously you're already gonna know that. Now, what's funny is if you watch the movie, you'll come into this and you won't necessarily have any idea what the premise is if nobody's ever spoiled it to you because that premise is not in the movie. Now, the idea of villains that become heroes and then take over for a super team for the Avengers is in that movie, of course. So, like, there's a grain of the premise, but it's not a secret, and they come together in that movie kind of more stereotypically as a ragtag group of B-list characters that don't really go together. And with this, it's almost the opposite of that, where it's a ragtag team of B-lister super villains, with the exception of Zemo, who is more of an A-list villain, who come together because they all have kind of a common goal.
When Zemo builds them like a boy band too.
Yeah, he just
where
goes
he's
around
like,
and pulls them all together, and doesn't break all of them out of prison. It's not like Suicide Squad. Like it's only one
yeah.
that gets broken out of prison,
No, and they're very strategically picked.
and she doesn't even want to be broken out of prison, and that's hilarious.
Yeah, I love that bit too because it's like, oh, we broke you out of prison, and you can go back. Like it's fine. But they're gonna add 10 years to your sentence now because you broke out.
Nicholas Bodo says this book is kind of Marvel Suicide Squad, from what I can tell. I mean, only in that it's a group of villains that end up begrudgingly doing heroic things, and even Suicide Squad. In the comics, initially, that's not even exactly what it is. Like they're sent off to do covert missions by the government. It's not even always heroic. Very often, it's not even heroic. They'll still do bad things, but ostensibly for the right reasons if your name is Amanda Waller. Like that is very different from this, where this is a group of villains that are still bad guys that decide to do heroic things in order to manipulate people.
Yeah, exactly. To replace, the big heroes and, get all of the information that they get and, take their place in the world.
Yeah, because importantly, they do take the hero's place, but it's not because they want to be heroes. It's because they want people to think that they're heroes.
Yeah.
Like I said,
exactly.
It's kind of smart. But interestingly, the movie ends up looking more like a Suicide Squad kind of thing by the end, I guess. Sort of.
Well,
but it's not
I guess
even...
especially the kind of, like they're all kind of like Black Ops-y kind of characters too.
Yeah, and then they end up
movie.
working for the government by the end, but it's their idea, not the government's idea, and they're not coerced into doing it. But the movies end up being more similar than like the Suicide Squad movies and Thunderbolts than they are at all in the comics, only because they end up both being villains that end up doing heroic things.
Yeah, exactly.
And so not even really anti-heroes at the end of the day. Like they start that way and then they're just kind of heroes by the end.
Yeah. No, one of the most baffling things with the Thunderbolts movie is that the only character that is from this team is Songbird, who is Julia Louis-Dreyfus's assistant. So, like, she doesn't even have powers. It's so strange.
Every single time we talk at all about this property, you always have to remind me that that's who that's supposed to be.
Yeah, well, it's weird because
and
they
she's
get
not
that character correct, like in terms of the way that she's like very, she like globs onto people, in a similar way.
I guess that's true. I guess in like she doesn't look anything like her, but you're right. Characterization wise, like she's mousy in the same way. Like this is an insecure character.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody always looking for. She's like a more broken Harley in a way, where like she's always
Yeah,
looking
I
for
can see
that
that.
kind of Joker figure to be the one that commands her around.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Hmm.
I saw it. So first of all, let me say that,
Yeah.
and maybe this is partly just because I don't have a lot of experience with Avengers comics, so you might see this totally differently, and I have no idea what I'm talking about when I say this. This
Hmm.
felt like reading an X-Men comic to me, in in certain ways. I just
Okay.
in like the pacing of it and the way some of the like soap opera is handled and that kind of stuff. And then there were characters that just felt like not stand-ins, but just reminded me a lot of X-Men characters. And Songbird had like kind of a rogue thing to me, at least movie rogue. There's there's a little bit of similarities to that character, and then once you get to Jolt, that's kind of straight up Jubilee. Like I had a lot
Yeah.
of X-Men with Des.
So I think, because I definitely see it through a lot of like an Avengers lens, but I don't see this specifically as one of those teams or another team. I think this is just super classic Marvel. Like to
Yeah.
me, this is just Marvel the next generation in a way. Because
Hmm.
you're absolutely right with like the X-Men comparisons, and then obviously your Citizen V is like a Captain
Yeah.
America stand-in. Mach 1 is like an Iron Man stand-in. Atlas is obviously like an Ant-Man stand-in. So like there's kind of like mixes of different stuff. Um, but like to me, it's interesting in just how classic Marvel it is, especially just in storytelling. But then you also have newer art with Bagley, so like it kind of blends that kind of next generation thing for me.
Yeah, the pacing of it and the wordiness of it, and of course there is a lot of '90s wordy X-Men Marvel, but
Mhm.
it felt a little throwbacky in that way, and it doesn't feel nostalgic. I don't think it's intentionally throwbacky. There's just something about the way Busiek decided to write this that I agree with you that it reads a real classic Marvel, and that's a great point. That it's kind of a blend of everything, because
Mhm.
again, I think I saw more X-Men in it just because I've read more X-Men, and so the
Yeah,
places
of
where it
course.
feels like that really like, and also the wordiness of it was very Claremontian to me too, where it's like
Yeah.
if you have 5 characters on a page, they all have to have equal amounts of dialogue. That is Claremont to a T, but I. It felt sort of like, but like the team itself doesn't really feel like an X-Men team. Just something about the flavor of it, and then they're fighting mostly Avengers and Captain America villains, and so that gives it this very other flavor than it would with X-Men. But then it starts Onslaught that took out the Fantastic Four and the Avengers, and so it's like it feels like the X-Men universe is already encroaching on this, because I always look at the X-Men almost like a separate entity that sometimes encroaches onto Marvel. So it's like the X-Men universe showed up and yanked out the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, and now the Thunderbolts are selfishly picking up the pieces.
Mhm. Yeah, no, exactly. And then obviously, like if we're looking at it as a mix of all three teams, you get more of the public persona aspect from FF.
Yeah, which is very
So in that
Fantastic
way,
Four.
it's very a mix of the three,
We also deal with some of their
and that's very
villains
cool.
here and there in
Yeah.
tiny ways. And second issue deals with Franklin Richards a lot. Who is hilariously written, and his dialogue is awful. And when Jolt shows up, she is looking for the Fantastic Four. They end up in the Fantastic Four's building, which is a thing that feels like it's kind of taken from this in the Thunderbolts movie, where they do that with Avengers Tower,
Yeah.
where like they end up in the tower. So
Yeah, definitely.
I did end up seeing a few bits in the initial few issues of this that they actually ran with in the movie, because I wondered if
Mhm.
it at all informed it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting adaptation. Just, I think I called it like a thematic adaptation in our spoiler cast, where it's like we just kind of take certain ideas and kind of do it in a different way, because you can't have this in the same way in the MCU. None of these characters except for Zemo exist, and he doesn't fit this role. Like with Civil War, he's not going to make his own super team just off of that movie. So it's like this weird way in which the MCU was like cannibalized itself in terms of an adaptation. So it's very strange, but there, you can tell they at least like and appreciate some of this stuff, which is nice.
No, in taking it in more of a super spy direction, it almost feels like a team that comes together and kind of tries to replace Shield or something. Like that's actually an angle they could have taken with it. Is like, oh look at us, we're the new Shield. They could have done that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always said it was weird that this doesn't come out right after Endgame, because Endgame is your onslaught. Like everyone's been wiped off the board.
Yeah, and like I understood your point with that, with the premise of this, but having not read it, I didn't fully appreciate it. And now that I've read this, it's very conflicting, right? Because Thunderbolts is the best MCU movie we've had in several years, in my opinion. And yet, that's not how I would have handled that team at all. Like now that I've read this, I totally get your point. You're totally right about it. That it's just the clear, obvious thing that Endgame, or actually, you wouldn't even do it after Endgame. You do it after Infinity War, and then they would show up, because that's when the heroes actually disappear. They're gone there. And then you'd have some villains that would try to replace them. And so the Thunderbolts would have been the best way to handle that 5-year gap. It's like, here's this team that comes in to fill in the pieces, and then to fill in that power vacuum. And then because this book is kind of all about power vacuum. And then we could have had that thing that I always complained about, which is we didn't get enough of an understanding of the status quo in that 5 years and really explore how the world changed. And it also would have given you a really nice reason to not have an Avengers team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's interesting.
Like, they should have done that. But then I also like the movie they made. And so, like,
and I do too.
We wouldn't have had that movie if they'd done that.
Mm-hmm. No, and the big thing for me, like,
now,
right away.
There's also, I just had this thought. There's also nothing. Yeah. There would have been nothing stopping them from that team. Now, I don't know what the first team would be if you did that. If it would have been like a bunch of no-name people we'd never seen before, but there would have been nothing stopping them from having a second Thunderbolts that is exactly the movie they made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, they could have done that. True. They wouldn't have done that, but they could have.
But no, the big thing that kind of endears me to this book right away is just how much Busiek is like a Marvel fanboy. And like, I really appreciate a lot of those touches where he's just kind of pulling from stuff, and there's like 8 billion like notes every issue, like, oh well, this comes from this issue and this is from that issue, but like not to an overwhelming degree.
That's one of the things
that
makes
this is built on history.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that makes it feel really classic too. Not just that it has a lot of footnotes, but that almost all of the footnotes are from things that are like 20, 30 years before this. Like, most of the things that they're referencing are not things that happened last Tuesday.
Yeah,
a lot of it is like, this character was first introduced in Captain America like 225. You know, like, there's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But and then Onslaught was last Tuesday, but everything else is like, this is like, I don't know, 20 years ago.
That's true. That's true. But a lot of these characters, the important things that happened with them, like, they might come back, but the important things that matter are things that were done around when they first showed up.
Yeah.
So I was not immediately familiar with at least any of the like new monikers with the Thunderbolts, which again is really interesting considering how popular this was. I mean, I meant to say this earlier. So like, I don't know how I had never seen Citizen V before. He has the most preposterous costume. And I love how much Zemo. Once you know it's Zemo, because I didn't even know that. Like then once it's revealed that he's Zemo, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Austin told me that Zemo's on this team, but I didn't. I momentarily remember that, so it was kind of nice to get blindsided by it. But I love how much he hams that up. Where it's like once you know it's Zemo, it's like of course he's being as irritatingly patriotic as possible, and he's being the total perversion parody of Captain America, and it's kind of fantastic.
Yeah. Well, Citizen V's costume is like completely brilliant in that you have, I was like, this like chrome silver shiny mask that has like the Wolverine or like Batman horns, the big, American shoulders, and then the rest of it is mostly purple, which is the color of Zemo's costume. So it's like bubbling underneath that, and it's
like he just
so
put it
brilliantly
on
put
top
together.
of his costume, and again hiding
it's
in plain
perfect.
sight. It's like he just knows people are stupid.
It's exactly what he says the name is, where he's like, we need a name that's both fascist and soft enough that you hear it and you're like, oh, like that's cool. Like that sounds like a neat name.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, why do you need a name that's fascist? It's like you need to be personally comfortable with it where it feels villainous enough to you, but nobody else notices. It's like, why don't you just make it not at all what you are at all so that you can, pretend? Like,
Yeah, well, and he specifically picks the name of like a rebel from World War II that his father murdered. So it's like there's also like a dig in his persona too. Like it's so just cool and well put together.
it's like the whole thing for him is a satire, and he's just kind of seeing
Yeah.
what he can get away with. And that goes with his kind of mustache twirly Saturday morning sort of vibe that he's got in this. Where like
Yeah,
this
he's got his little Zorro sword. And...
this starts from I'm bored, I want to take over the world. I can't do that right now. Maybe I'll go to some alternate universe and enslave a bunch of people and make an army and bring them over here. Like, that's how this plot starts. And then he's thinking about how he's going to put together some kind of, new evil organization or something just before the Onslaught thing happens. And so if memory serves with the origin issue, which you get in the annual, he kind of starts to have the inkling of let's pretend to be superheroes before the Onslaught thing happens, and then it's kind of just the right timing.
I think it's more he's just gonna do something evil and he's gonna put his team together, and then that happens, and then he's like, oh, like all my plans are worthless. Like I was gonna kill these people.
Yeah, well, and then
wait a minute, we can like replace them. Like
yeah,
we
and
could do that.
But there's that scene where he overhears somebody talking about the idea of pretending to be heroes, and I cannot remember if that happens before or after the Onslaught.
That's
thing.
after.
Oh, okay.
That's after. That's when they're telling. I guess he's not Atlas at that point. He's Goliath.
Yeah.
The Avengers and FF are dead, and he's like, well, we could just replace them. There's money in that.
So, originally, after the first couple issues, I found myself thinking, this actually might, like, to be fair to the MCU, this might not be a premise that works as well on screen as it does in comics, because it would be hard to believe that anybody would buy it if you're watching actors you're familiar with, if that makes sense. Where it's like you get villains, whoever it would be in the MCU. You get actors that have played villains already that are still playing those villains, but putting on a new costume with a new moniker and making everybody else think that there's somebody else. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe you couldn't have done that premise. And it's later before we realize that some of the Thunderbolts are using like holographic technology to make their faces look different, and they're all wearing like voice encoders. And then I was thinking, okay, like you could do that, but then you're having other actors play them.
Yeah, you could do it in a sense. You just can't really have it be a twist, and you just have to accept that nobody catches on, I guess.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only way you can do it.
Or you have to be
live
okay
action.
with like the characters you're familiar with all being played by different actors most of the time.
Yeah, that too.
That's how you'd almost have to do it.
No, like the perfect way to do this, and I mean, you can say this about most of the stuff, but it's an animated series, is the way to do it.
Yeah, totally. I was kind of surprised that Busiek went as far as to say some of these characters have made their faces look different. And then you get, is it Techno who, like, permanently changes? Somebody permanently changes their face.
Yeah, I know they say Songbird's like cheeks are like changed, like cosmetically. I think like a couple of them are just kind of permanently changed.
Yeah. And I feel like in comics, it's kind of, it's easier to get away with, yeah, it's that Superman thing. It'd be easier to get away with just wearing different costumes. And so I was a little surprised he went that far. Like, I actually would buy it well enough without that. In a comic book. I don't even know if he had to go that far. Like, it's smart, it makes sense, but I also think that most of these characters, with the exception of Songbird, like, most of these characters, their faces look so different in their new suits that you wouldn't guess who they are. But it also helps that I just wasn't familiar with most of these characters. So I was going to say this earlier. I didn't know any of the new monikers. I only knew, like, 2 or 3 of these actual characters once we got to them.
Yeah.
So it's like Zemo, and then I got to remind myself who some of these other people are. And then
probably the Beetle, I would say.
The Beetle I had heard of, but I didn't really remember him from anything in particular. The Fixer, of course. That's probably about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I think I know Goliath before he's Goliath. I think from like the original. I think it was like Avengers 21. Is what it says he's from because I've read that. But he's like just a henchman basically back then. And obviously I know the Beetle, I know Zemo and the Fixer, and Moonstone I was like vaguely familiar with, and then the only one I straight up had never heard of before reading this was Screaming Mimi.
Yeah, I didn't know who that was. I think it's really funny because I was not aware of the fact that Marvel had both a Goliath and a Black Goliath. I think it's really funny when you get to the second Ant-Man movie and they have changed his name to straight up Goliath because it's like he's not this guy, he's Black Goliath, but they're not calling him Black Goliath. He's just Goliath, but he's not this guy.
Although he has a connection to Ghosts, so
yeah.
There is a connection to a Goliath.
What if he was both? What if they just amalgamated both Goliaths to make a new character named Goliath?
Back in the 70s, Hank Pym was probably like, here, take my technology, you will be Black Goliath.
to make a brand new character.
Was like, can I just be Goliath?
To make a brand new character named Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, there is no Goliath. Why do I have to be Black Goliath, Hank?
Another thing that you just reminded me of this. Another thing that I really appreciated reading this is there were several moments where I found myself asking a question and wondering why it hadn't been brought up yet, and then a couple pages later it would come up. So, like, as silly as some of this is, because it does get, like, 90s Marvel goofy, and that's some of the charm of it, it's smarter than it has to be. So, like, there's places like, for example, with what you just said about Hank Pym, there's a place where early on when we've got Atlas and he is growing, I was like, okay, is this gonna be a Pym particle thing? Like, is he related to Giant Man in any way, or did he get his powers in some other way? And a journalist or someone, like, a few pages after that asked that same question, and I was like, okay, good.
Yeah.
We're dealing with some of the obvious things that ought to come up, and I forget what. There's 2 or 3 other things like that where I was like, I was wondering, Songbird has such a specific power set. I was like, where in the world does that come from? And then we actually, like, meet the villain that they stole the technology for that augments her powers, and I was like,
Claw.
Yeah, Claw, and I was like, and I didn't realize that he made such a thing. Her powers are really interesting.
Yeah, they're really cool, and we will see her continue to be built. Like we're kind of just setting stuff up here, but she's my favorite Thunderbolt. I
I
really like.
I think she might
Songbird.
be mine too. I was going to ask you who your favorite was.
Hmm. Yeah, mine is. I would say probably definitely Songbird. I really like her. I also really like the Beetle going into this. So like, I really like him as Mach 1 here.
Yeah, well, and I like Mach 1 because he just seems like a GI Joe character.
Yeah, kind of.
This also kind of had not that I know a lot about GI Joe, but it had a little bit of that flavor to me too, and just like '80s toy commercial cartoons in general. Like it really had that vibe to me. I totally could have seen this as one of those shows.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of the kind of villain like parody of a hero thing, right? Where it's like they make like very toetic versions of themselves is like how they do it to like like a silly degree.
Well, one of the funniest moments is in the origin issue when most of them have their costumes already and they have their first mission. They do their first save. I forget what it is,
Yeah.
but Zemo is leading them, and at the end of it, he's like, "We're not ready to be public yet." So like whoever it is they rescue, he's like, so I read a bunch of pages today, and I can't remember exactly what the situation was, but he's
Yeah.
like, we're not ready to go public yet, so we can't tell you our names. Meanwhile, Atlas has this giant A on his costume,
Big A on his
it's
chest.
like screaming, "I want you to know my name," and. And Citizen V is like, we're not ready. And he's got his helmet is a letter. You know, it's a V. It's like, what does the V stand for? We can't tell you yet, citizen. We're not ready to reveal ourselves. Well, we've got giant ass letters all over us. I just think that's funny.
Well, yeah, it's like that, and the issue where they first meet Jolt and help her out. There's a bit where they're going through Doom's castle, and Zemo turns to the Fixer, and he's like, "Hey, helping people with nobody around to see it, that's worthless. Can you
Yeah,
record
turn on
this?
some cameras.
Yeah, you need to broadcast this, otherwise it's pointless."
Yeah, because again, Zemo is kind of the mostly unchanging character that really sticks to his, this as a villain scheme, and a lot of the other characters around him are kind of like finding a heroic sense, or maybe even just enjoying this more than the regular day job. And then I guess the counterpoint for Zemo is, or Citizen V is Meteorite, who has her own kind of evil agenda where she wants to double cross Zemo at some point. And so you've got kind of some intrigue within the team, and it's structured. I know I say this about a lot of things, but I mean this in a good way. It's structured like a season of television, right? Where like
Yeah.
you've got your couple of romance arcs, and thankfully, shockingly, there's no love triangle. I would have expected that. There really isn't
Yeah.
one yet. Maybe there will be.
I don't think
but
there. I
so
don't think
far,
there is. There's a couple romances. I don't think we ever go to love triangle.
so far, there's not like two different people vying for Songbird, and I kind of maybe expected that. And then you've got Atlas, who's going after the government liaison chick, and then sees Songbird as more of like a surrogate sister kind of type of character. So that would have been the obvious place to do a love triangle, is to have him go after her also, or maybe to be torn, where it's like, oh, I like her, but I also like this liaison chick. But they don't go there. Like he has no romantic, affection for her.
Mhm. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think TV is perfect because what we're doing we're basically stopping at the mid-season finale, and then where we will end on my next pick is the season finale. I think that makes perfect sense.
And he
And
also structurally, I was pretty impressed with this because at first it seemed like kind of just a bunch of random things that were happening where you could see some building plots, but it was a lot of, and then we fight this random villain team, and then we fight this random villain team, and then you get to issue 4 and you find out that at least some of those teams are not random and are connected and are being sent out by one villain, who turns out to be Arnim Zola. And by the way, side note, it always frustrates me when Zemo and Zola are both in a thing because I always mix their names on. It drives me insane. I can always think of one, but I can't think of the other one. Where they both show up in a book and my brain explodes. I hate that.
We kind of get the 3 big ones because you have
you got Von Strucker too.
Zemo and Strucker. Yeah. Because we have.
But that I can remember because his name doesn't have a Z in it anywhere.
Yeah, no, of course. But like Zola's kind of doing some stuff which ties into some of the stuff that they fight, and then Strucker's doing some stuff that ties into things that they fight. Like it is pretty well structured in that way.
Yeah, like the further you read, the more interconnected you realize it all is. And I don't want to say the storytelling reads especially tight as you're going, but you realize that there's a plan and that there's an interconnected nature to everything. And there are a lot of characters, but it's nice that some of them end up being kind of throwaway, but not in a pointless why did this character show up, but more in, well, it's a villain team pretending to be a hero team, so it's fun to see them go up against the other villain teams. And so like very quickly we do a new version of Zemo's old villain team just for the sake of drama, because you got to do that stuff.
That's like, one of the first things you have to do if you're going to make Zemo the leader of a fake hero team is you have to bring in a new Masters of Evil to deal with that he's like personally offended at for existing.
Yeah, and it's great. And who ends up being the leader of that?
So that is the Crimson Cowl, who will be a mystery through a lot of this run. But yeah.
That was one of those bits where comics is... I don't want to say a limited medium, but different, right? So she shows up, and all you see is a big flowy red cloak. The suit is cool, it's real mysterious and kind of creepy looking, in sort of a Phantasm way. And I say Phantasm because you can't tell Phantasm is female either. That's the point. But then you turn the page, and they're like, "Oh, she'll be back," and I'm like, "Oh, is a she?" And it's like, well, because they could hear her talk, but I can't because it's a comic book.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're like, she ran away. That means she's a woman. I guess.
That was such
I'm Zemo. I would never run.
Such a weird reveal because it's almost like it's not a reveal. It's almost like somehow I was supposed to be able to tell that was a woman when she was speaking, and I'm like, but I can't hear what she sounds like. And so, like, are you telling me that I'm not supposed to assume in the first place that it's male if it kind of looks male? Because most of the villains in this are male, okay? Like, or the teams are led by men. So, like, that is the assumption any reader would make until we're told it's a girl.
Well, one of the only heroes we meet is female, which is Black Widow in that scene.
Who's wearing...
Which is also funny,
looks like
she's
Black Widow 2099.
Yeah.
We'll get there in the art. It's a weird... I kind of like it, actually, in that, obligatory late 90s kind of way. I wonder if Black Widow got a 2099 counterpart. I'm going to look that up.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. But I really like that bit where she's fighting, like, 6 villains, and then the Thunderbolts come and help her, and she's like, you guys ruined this. I perfectly had this. Now,
chances are, if there is one, it's newer and didn't exist back then.
Yeah, maybe.
In some ways, sometimes I wish it was still like 2010, because back then I could look up stuff like this and I'm not inundated with new nostalgic versions of things throwing back to it. Because, like, back in the late 2000s, we'd all but forgotten about 2099. Like, it was such a gigantic deal. Sorry, I'm running away with myself. It was such a gigantic deal when Spider-Man 2099 showed up in a video game. We hadn't seen him in anything in over a decade. And it was like, oh my god, maybe he'll be in comics. And then Peter David comes back and does a run, and then we give him a whole other costume that was stupid. And then we do just a whole new set of 2099 things, and now that's a thing again. And so I can't look up something like Black Widow 2099 because it's just going to show me new things.
That's true. It is true, unfortunately.
So
there's probably a Thunderbolts 2099 at this point.
I wouldn't be surprised. Did you know? Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place because I was looking at Thunderbolts teams. Are you aware that Man-Thing is on one?
Yes. Yeah. That's I think isn't that around or maybe like after the like Dark Avengers period?
I'm gonna check. It's just before or just after that.
Yeah.
I'm looking
that's
for
what I was
it.
thinking.
No, it's during Heroic Age, so it's right after Dark Reign.
Okay.
So Heroic Age was what, like 09, 2010?
Was that their? Yeah, I think so. I think it's around there.
Because that's when they've got like Crossbones is on it, Juggernaut's on it. They've got like a crazy nut, and Luke Cage is the leader. So I guess that's a weird team where it's like they have some villains, but the main leader is not a villain.
Yeah, which is where this book will go, because Hawkeye will become the leader of this book, which makes a lot of sense because he was a villain that was redeemed by the Avengers. So that's kind of his take, where he's like, well, like I can make you guys heroes. Like,
well, that's what I was going to say
work.
is, I would have thought that would be a prerequisite, but as far as I'm aware, Luke Cage was never a villain.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I actually haven't read much with Luke Cage, so I don't know.
Somebody tell us. I could be wrong. And then, of course, it jumps the shark by the 6th Thunderbolts team, where the Red Hulk is the leader and Deadpool is on it. So, like, I'm done. I'm done after that. Like that just.
Well, that was the one that like normies complained about with the MCU, where they're like, "This isn't the Thunderbolts. Why isn't Red Hulk and Deadpool on this team?"
Oh, really?
And it's like, oh.
Okay. Well, because it apparently had Elektra and Punisher on it. And Ghost Rider.
Yeah, for some reason I thought that
and
like,
Agent
was an
Venom
book that didn't actually get made, but I guess it did. I don't know.
According to this.
But yeah, that's one people share covers for, or like artwork for, and they're like, look, why isn't it just this? And it's like, that's also not the original Thunderbolts either. Like,
nothing about this team remotely reads Thunderbolts to me. Like every other list of teams or list of team members that I'm seeing here, at least in some way represents the original premise. And all that looks like is Red Hulk and Deadpool on a Spirits of Vengeance team. Or something.
Yeah, or
like
just like slap the this kind of section of characters, like the most popular ones. Like people love Deadpool. Red Hulk was probably big around that time.
Yeah.
People love the Punisher. People love Ghost Rider. Like slap them all on a team.
Or I say Spirits of Vengeance. What is the name of that team that's got like?
You're thinking of Midnight Suns.
Midnight Suns. Yeah. This reads like a Midnight Suns.
Yeah, I just knew what you meant when you said it.
I know, but somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, Cap, you idiot! It's Midnight Suns." So I wanted to make sure
to correct you, because when you said it, I just knew what you were talking about.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for and like I don't mind the weirdness of that team, I guess. But the other thing is, Thunderbolts ought to be mostly like weird offbeat characters.
Yeah.
Like, whatever the premise of the book is, I would think that at the core of it, you would want to at least have half the members or more be weird B or C list characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at the moment,
that's part of the fun.
They're all characters, at the point that they're almost all characters that could and have sold books on their own. I feel like you've lost too much of the premise.
That's what I have with Guardians, like where I'm like, I don't want, and obviously like the main ones are big now, but like I don't want like Silver Surfer and Nova on that team. Like part of the idea was these were the sci-fi characters that like could not make their own sell their own book.
Yeah,
and, they're on a team, so it's like I have that with that book.
because what you can't do forever is say the Thunderbolts always must be a team of villains pretending to be heroes. As soon as they're outed once, you can't do that anymore. And so at that point, it needs to, if you're going to have a tradition of it, it needs to be rehabilitated villains that are actually being heroes, or villains that have some motivation for joining the good guys.
No, the most we get is Dark Avengers would be like a spiritual successor, and Meteorite Moonstone is on that team as well. I think she's the stand-in for Miss Marvel.
Well, and is that the like Green Goblin connection? Because like Norman Osborn leads a Thunderbolts team, but I thought he was also Dark Avenger. Is he not?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So like, that's probably how they connect those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably. Yeah, because that's when he's Iron Patriot.
Did you have what I did with this? I'm just running through pages where anytime a major A-list hero shows up, even if it's for one panel, it feels like a big deal. Because like,
yes,
this book is not about them. So even if it's a flashback and you see one, I find myself going, "Oh, cool! Bagley got to draw somebody that's major on this page."
You never thought you'd get to see Bagley draw Spider-Man, but there he is for a panel.
I know. But even though he's already drawn Spider-Man a lot, and he's really going to draw Spider-Man a lot later, you can still see, just looking at this panel, he looks like he's very happy to get to draw Spider-Man one time.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's something about that kind of screams, I spent a little bit more time on this page.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about his art.
Well, I mean, you got to make them feel. I mean, Spider-Man there specifically is like a glow too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, look, it's our shining hero.
He
even approves of the Thunderbolts.
Talk about Bagley a little bit, because this is a really interesting period for him. Because we're just 4 or 5 years before he's going to start drawing Ultimate Spider-Man. And it feels like such a different era. But like, it feels like 10, 15 years have passed when you get to that.
Well, because Bagley's such a weird artist in that he is like a midpoint between the 90s and the 2000s, where you go back here and you can see so much more of that like Liefeldy McFarlane, Jim Lee influence on his art. And then obviously in the 2000s, it's going to look completely different, but both are recognizable as Mark Bagley. And I think he's very interesting in that sense. But obviously this is more in the 90s period of him. And I don't know, he's one of those artists, because I really like Mark Bagley. And even when I don't like some of that stuff from those other places in the 90s, for some reason it works for me here. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know, just something about his flavor to it works for me.
Some of it might just be familiarity.
Yeah, I mean, that could be too.
Or it's like, I'm really used to the way he draws faces, and I am having the same thing.
Changed.
No, it didn't. You can see every woman that he draws in Ultimate Spider-Man in this. Like, his Mary Jane is in here, his Gwen Stacy is in here, his Kitty Pryde is in here. Like, you can see all the faces. But I did have the same thing with this, and I think it's just this period. Because the book that we did last week was from around the same time, but it was at DC. Sometimes really decent or great pencils are held back a bit in coloring. I had that with this, not to the same degree that I did with Peter David's Supergirl, but I still have that a little bit, where there's kind of this flat coloring, and I don't know if I'm almost positive it was digital then with Supergirl. I don't know if it is here, but I'm telling you,
they're about the same time. I think that's what, a year after this. That starts.
It's around the same time.
Yeah,
but so I do like the coloring here a little bit better than there. But I'm telling you, if the colors were more like Ultimate Spider-Man, it would look like, I don't know that his style has changed all that much from this to Ultimate Spider-Man. Like, in the pencils.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a good point. And, like, obviously you have different inkers that can make it look a little different as well.
It's just so
That
easy
is
to
a
look
good
at
point.
this and to think that it's 15 years before Ultimate Spider-Man. It's not. It's 4.
Yeah, exactly. Until you see pictures like this of Mach 1 and you're like, wait a minute, that's basically just your Beetle design.
That's true. And then that's the 90s very much encroaching on a 2000s comic and not the other way around, because everything about that screams like Liefeldian mid-90s.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
No,
you
if
think
this
of
were 2000s era Bagley, there'd be more people in trench coats.
that's true. You think of characters like when you look at him, like Darkhawk, and people like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. No, like him and the Fixer, who is, oh my god, why am I blanking on his name now? He's um
We're talking about.
I can't. The Fixer's Thunderbolt name. I'm blanking on that. But his look is also very 90s, especially the headband.
Oh, Techno. Yeah, yeah.
Techno, thank you.
Yeah, he's one that I keep thinking, because I've only read now these for 6.
Yeah.
He is the one character that I can see kind of going either way in whether he's gonna want to keep being a superhero or go back to villainy, just because he's so full of himself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think like just from issue 1 alone, I think Busiek does a really good job of letting you know kind of where every character is in terms of that sense, where obviously, like you said, Zemo in his Citizen V getup is very theatrical. Techno is very braggadocious, as they say many times. Atlas is very like just nose to the ground, like follow the rules. I'm gonna do what I'm told. Songbird's very
but Atlas
mousy.
also, I think, does the best job of putting on that stalwart superhero phase, where you almost wonder why he started as a villain in the first place. Or at least that was the sense I got from him, where I was like, you seem more like a superhero than me.
Yeah, well, I really like Meteor's the line that she has where she's like, "Look, most of these people are outcasts that have never fit into society. Like, you're giving them one sense of being accepted.
Yeah.
Like, of course they're gonna latch on to that, and you have to really watch that."
Yeah, that's true. And she seems pretty duplicitous from the start.
Yeah, exactly. She's
Like,
very like kind of like Mystique-y in that way, I guess, where it's very like she's kind of playing everybody.
yeah, she plays both sides, and she's, I guess, in her way, as villainous as Zemo, but she has a different kind of ambition, and she has a different way of being deceptive. So, like, Zemo, like you said, very theatrical, very over the top, somehow still manages to make everybody buy that he's a superhero. And it's impressive that within the context of this goofy comic book, I am also buying that people are buying into that. I guess because you're in the world of characters that are like all of them that theatrical. And so,
yeah, well, I think it helps too that like the Avengers and FF are dead, and everybody's just kind of scared, so they're looking for it as well. So it's like they're also just wanting that replacement, so they accept him a lot easier. And even the characters say they're like, "Well, we did not expect to be, accepted as well as we were, like this fast."
well, and he's also being smart in setting himself up to be that larger than life, like Xavier type character, where he does show up in battles and he fights with them, but he doesn't do all the talking. Like when he does, he's real grand, certainly, because he's Zemo. But like, if he talked too much, people might catch on. Like you can tell he's smart about that.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I like when they deal with other villains. There's moments where people kind of deal with him, and they're like, you are not some amateur. Like, you are not somebody new. I can't tell who you are, but like you've been around this for a long time. Like, you just have that presence about you.
Well, and that is a minor gripe that I have, a minor criticism, is people do buy in too quickly. And, like, Busiek kind of covers his bases a little bit by saying, well, everybody's sort of desperate for new heroes because we've lost the Avengers and the Fantastic Four. So, like, I get that. But the regular people should, some of them anyway, should be a little bit quicker, like some of the villains are, to be like, if you guys all had these powers or had this great technology, because it's not all they put on jetpacks and fly around. Like, some of them have honest God superpowers. Like, why didn't you show up until just now? And, like, all together. And this all feels very convenient. And then the place where that's I kind of the most egregious to me is in the origin issue where you get Zemo telling a like somewhat made up version of how they came together to Jolt, with a classic unreliable narrator thing where he's telling her one thing and then we the audience are reading or seeing what actually happened, and it's really well put together, and like the all the stuff that he leaves out, you can kind of see how she's buying it. And then he also covers his bases when you get to the end of that issue and Zemo is talking to Moonstone, and she's like, okay, but like Jolt's gonna catch on if she thinks about that for like 5 seconds. So like that's all smart. But even during that, you'd think at some point Jolt would be like, okay, but where were all you people? Because he tells the story like, we were all heroes and I went around and recruited all these heroes that no one's ever met before. Like, how did you know who they are and where they were? She never asked that question.
Yeah, exactly. It's just she's bright-eyed. She's a fangirl. She's excited to be around you.
She's
guys.
Jubilee.
Yeah, she's Jubilee.
She's bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
She's not annoying Miss Marvel.
She's gonna, she's gonna go to the mall and get some chili dogs. Because doesn't a mall babe eat chili dogs?
Do you think she fell for that? Does a mall baby eat chili dogs?
Plush DX, so it looks more hand drawn. I wasn't saying that it wasn't drawn by hand. I was saying that it's probably not colored by hand, because we were starting to do a lot more digital coloring at that point. And I'm almost positive Supergirl was digital colored. This I can't 100% tell if it's like partially that way or entirely that way, but I think this is likely also digitally colored. Again, that was starting to become pretty standard by then, I believe. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong about that, but
yeah, no, and I just don't know enough about that stuff to know, like, this is digital, this is not. Some things are really obvious, and then there's other things where, I don't know, I'm dumb.
Fleshy DX, well, no, I mean, I'm not an artist either. The world can't keep track of all of its heroes. There's too many. Yeah, that's true. And so if one showed up, you might not question it. When there's a team that all came together and you don't recognize any of them, like, I as a comic reader find that suspicious. Where I'm like, how have I never heard of any of these people? Something is going, and I think that's part of the appeal and the novelty with that first issue. Austin is there's this kind of feeling of mystery. And this kind of odd sense of something's not right here. Like, I should know someone on this team.
Yeah. No, the only one is just Citizen V, because he's a legacy hero, but everyone else is, their own thing.
But your average comic reader wouldn't even know who that is.
No, for sure. But no, I was just going to say as well, I do like the line, though, when they're talking to the press for the first time, and they're like, oh, like, why why don't you have like Spider-Man on the team? Like that's not what they say, obviously, but he's just like, well, there's only so many heroes left. Like I'm not repositioning the board. Like I'm trying to add new heroes to it.
Yeah, we're trying to
I
help
think that
out.
line's really good.
We're not trying
Yeah.
to. No, Busiek's really thought this out.
Hmm. Well, and from my understanding, like I think this was an idea he had like long before this. Like this was something I think he wanted to do like on the Avengers, and just it never happened. And then kind of saw his opportunity here to finally do it.
Well, that's part of what makes it feel
Um,
classic. Is you're like, how have you
mhm.
not done this prior to 1997? It's such an obvious kind of Marvel idea.
Yeah, I mean, even going back to the Avengers, like the second iteration of that team has Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, who were villains before that.
Well, in Marvel,
And obviously it's different, but like we got like a history of that.
yeah, and Marvel also has a long tradition of let's play around with all of the kind of practical factors that Golden Age DC wouldn't have thought of. So stuff I I was thinking of damage control a lot through this, especially because this is a team that's trying to aggrandize themselves to the public by cleaning up their own messes, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah.
So they're thinking of that stuff. So it's like, I, well, if the so what I mean by practical considerations is if a lot of the major heroes all suddenly died, who picks up the slack? Well, you've got villains with powers. Well, maybe some of them would step up. Okay, but would they? Like, would they actually? And if they did, what's in it for them? This is the Marvel way to handle those kinds of ideas.
Yeah. No, I mean, good call.
And so that's part of what makes
Right.
it read so classic. And then also you have all that fun, like I said earlier, power vacuum stuff, where at the same time as you have villains stepping up to be heroes, you also have more villains coming out of the woodwork, like we always do when the heroes disappear, and oh, now there's no one to stop us. So, and then you have like fun natural drama out of, well, the only people that are left to stop us are other bad guys that we don't know are heroes or are the heroes, except some of us can tell that they are because we recognize little things and how they're operating.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fun little intrigue like that in certain characters getting a hint of it. Like there's something going on with Black Widow that we don't know what exactly it is yet, where she comes in and or there's a part where the Thunderbolts help her stop some bad guys, and she's like, I had this under control, I didn't need your help, like leave me alone. And then they run off, and then she's got this like suspicious look on her face later where it's like, oh, she's picked up on something. And then the Thunderbolts are like, oh crap, did she found us out? Like what was that what was that look on her face?
Yeah, exactly. Which we will build on next time when we come back with this.
Oh, I figured.
Yeah.
You got to do that
that's
while
really cool.
Zemo's still around.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense too because she also starts as a villain, so like
Yeah.
it makes sense that you would do that with her.
Yeah, it makes sense that she would pick up on it quicker.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, like she's the spy. Like she's not just a villain, but also somebody that has to pretend to be something a lot of the time.
Yeah, good call. I wasn't even thinking about that thematically. But Busiek is, clearly thoughtful about, and they're not arbitrary, like which characters he's bringing in.
No, that's why I think this book worked so well. And just as somebody who really likes Marvel, like I really appreciate it. Is that it feels like through the course of Marvel's history, he's just noticed little threads and been like, I'm gonna take all of these little threads and I'm gonna weave something out of it.
He also does that weird thing that early Marvel would sometimes do where, well, I say early, Marvel really all over the place, where you'll have a major battle that happens in somebody else's book, and then it gets talked about a bunch in the main book. So by the second issue, we're already talking about a thing that we didn't read about unless we read Incredible Hulk that month. Because the Thunderbolts, and I didn't go read it, but the Thunderbolts fight the Hulk. But it's not
Yeah, and I
actually
think
in
they
this
fight
book.
Spider-Man And I think in the issue where they fight
Oh, really?
Spider-Man, I think there's like a joke where um, even Jameson likes the Thunderbolts because they're gonna go fight Spider-Man. I think that's like a joke in that book.
That's really funny. Well, yeah, that's classic. Like, Jameson should not pick up on the fact that they're villains.
Hmm. Yeah. No, of course.
Jameson should become a Thunderbolt.
That'd be crazy.
Jameson should put on a Spider Slayer, like, mech robot.
I was gonna say he should be the next Citizen V, because we got a Citizen V in the new Iron Man book that is a mystery. He can be Jameson.
Is that actually Citizen V?
Yep. Yeah, Citizen V and I think Techno are both. Citizen V's in that first issue. I think Techno's supposed to be in that book at some
So I
point.
read that when it came out last week, and I'm going to reread it again for our show tomorrow, and that's going to read different after I've read this, because I don't know what Citizen V is before 5 hours ago.
Yeah, well, I think he's only in like 2 panels. Like it's very like.
Yeah, but now I'll pick up on that.
Yeah, exactly. But he's also a big part of like the full like 2-page cover.
Yeah, look at this Black Widow outfit. It looks like a 2099 costume. It's so weird. Like
it does. Look
everybody,
like a 2099 outfit.
everybody, go look at Daredevil 2099 and then get back to me, because it looks like it's based off that costume.
I mean, Black Widow and Daredevil used to date.
They sure did.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't think there was a Black Widow 2099 back in the original 2099 run.
Yeah, I don't know that she would have been big enough. If there is, she would have just been like a supporting role.
Yeah. Well, like, was there even a back then anyway? Was there even like a 2099 Avengers? Like, I don't think there was even an Avengers.
I don't think so. I think it was Spider-Man, Doom. There was like an original 2099 book, and I think Ghost Rider. I think were the original books.
Well, I mean, there's a lot more than that. But
oh, okay, I don't know. I don't know enough about 2099.
Yeah, there's X-Men, there's Ravage, there's
I think Ravage is maybe the other one I was thinking
there's Fantastic Four, which was the actual Fantastic Four team sucked into the future, but they got their own book.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the Punisher 2099.
Yes, I did know about Punisher. I forgot about that.
There were at least 10 or 12, and I don't know if you even said X-Men, but like there's at least 10.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, X-Men started almost the same time as Spider. X-Men was the second 2099 book, I believe.
Oh, okay. I mean, that is the case where we will do like universes of some of this stuff, and only Spider-Man is the one that lasts. Because Noir kind of has that as well. Where like there's a couple other Noir books.
Oh, that's
people
true.
only remember
Spider-Man stuck around. No, that's true.
Yeah. So there's a couple of those where it's like, Spider-Man's the one that like permeates, and the others we just kind of forget about.
Now, in the defense of both 2099 and Ultimate, it did start with that character, both of them.
Yeah. Well, and Ultimate's different in that we tend to remember the other ones. Obviously, Ultimate Spider-Man's the biggest one, but it's not like 2099 and Noir where there's probably a lot of people who don't even know there was other books in those lines.
I know I've said this before, but the Ravage thing has always cracked me up, because that's like an original character, but they still put 2099 on it. So it sounds like there should be a regular 616 counterpart, and we're like, Ravage 2099. I mean, it would be confusing, but it honestly should just be called Ravage.
I'm shocked Dan Slott didn't make that the regular 616 Ravage. He did that with Iron Man 2020, where that was like a offshoot thing, and then he gets to write Iron Man in 2020, and then he just does like an Iron Man 2020 thing in 2020. I don't know. Anyways,
what I love is how there's no sliding timeline for 2099. Like, we never get to the next year. Like, so much crap happens in that 1 year.
That's a wild year.
It's a wild year. We can't move past it. I want to go in and see how inconsistent they are about months. I want to see people that just arbitrarily say, like June or September, and see like if any of it remotely lines up, because it's all supposed to be 2099.
There's some editor that's like, God damn it, Noir doesn't have to deal with this. Why couldn't we have just been like Marvel Cyberpunk?
Ultimate doesn't have to deal with this. Why did we pick a year? That's so stupid. It's going to feel less and less futuristic as time moves on.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I don't know why we're talking so much about that.
Years last longer. Because it's the 90s.
Yeah, and because there are things in this book that look like stuff from that book, and not just Black Widow, but just some of the art in general, like reminds me of that stuff. But yeah, what else do we need to cover with this?
Another big thing I wanted to mention is the classic tradition of Marvel characters fighting Doctor Doom, specifically early on, but they don't actually fight Doctor Doom because they're not really heroes. So it's like it still fits that tradition. It's just it's flipped because they're not actually heroes. So they don't actually fight Doctor Doom. I don't know if that's intentional, but I can still read that into it.
No, that's a really cool read. It doesn't have to be intentional. I like that a lot. I wouldn't have thought of that. My thing was, I read it more as, and I'm not disputing you, I love that, but I read it more as there's a threshold of popularity or character quality, both in the hero side and the villain side, that this team is allowed to wrestle with, at least early on, where there are a couple of places where you would think they're about to deal with a much bigger threat, and then it turns out that it's this guy. Where it's like, because they do that with Doom. They do. Say again.
I said, oddly, the Wrecking Crew might be the biggest villains they fight.
Well, I was going to say
they're huge.
They do that with Doom, where they subvert that, where it's like the cover even says Doom on it, and it's like, oh, we're going to Latveria, like Doom. And I can't tell you what it was, but I knew Doom wasn't going to show up in that issue. From the cover, I knew it. I was like, they're going to go there. They're going to make us think it's Doom. It's not going to be Doom, and I was right. I don't know why. I don't know why I was so sure about that, but I knew it was going to be Doom. And then later on with, what is it, the Growing Man?
Yes.
That's one of the worst names for anything. But you get that sounds like a D-list character. That's like Stilt Man or something. Anyway, so you get the Growing Man, and they keep making a big deal out of his secret master, who turns out to be Kang. But guess what? Kang also is not going to show up. Like, they keep doing it. And so it feels like there's this threshold of villain they're not allowed to deal with. And they're not going to fight any A-list heroes either. Like, you get a glimpse of Spider-Man, and you get a glimpse of Daredevil in a flashback. And that's it. And Black Widow, who arguably in this era would not count as an A-list character.
Yeah, well, we don't know this here yet, but even the Crimson Cowl kind of fits what you're saying too. When we do finally find out who that is.
So is that somebody I know?
Connected to somebody you know? That's why I'm saying, like, it kind of fits that, in that there's a person that you know, but it's not them, it is connected to them.
By the way, that's where we're at in the art here, and this is that bit where it's like, oh, she'll be back. And I'm like, oh, I guess it's a girl.
And with greater numbers.
And then and then there's the shot that we'd already seen her suit, but that's the shot that made me go, wait a minute, Black Widow's a 2099 character.
Why do you have random lines?
But I really like your idea that they can't see Doom yet, because that's where he usually would show up in a new book, and they're not actually heroes. Yeah, Shadows of Doom.
Because that's issue 4. I'm trying to think. Spider-Man, it's either issue 4 or issue 5. I can't remember, where he fights Doctor Doom. But like, we do tend to do it pretty early for a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
So,
well, it is, especially in Silver Age, like that's.
We love Doctor Doom. You get that classic FF cover where there's the picture of Doctor Doom in the corner, and it just says above him, he's not in this issue, we just wanted to draw him.
Yeah, and he fights Spider-Man in like the 5th issue or something, like real early.
Yeah, I think he fights Luke Cage really early, too.
Oh, really? So can I talk about my favorite stupid thing?
Yes.
My favorite stupid thing is that the only reason Jolt becomes a superhero is because they have a machine that can make clothes, but only superhero costumes. And so she comes to them, and she's got a real dark backstory. She's got kind of a, like, Logan X-23 sort of backstory, where she's been like experimented on, and she's been given superpowers, and she's got kind of a Weapon X thing, and she escapes. And she goes to look for the Fantastic Four because she's not been allowed to see anyone but these horrible monsters that have been mutilating her and her friends. Her friends are much more mutilated because later on we're going to find out that they all converge to become the Substance, and it's horrifying.
Yep.
But she doesn't realize that Onslaught happened, and so she goes to the Baxter building to get help from the Fantastic Four, and it's like, who are you people? Where's the Fantastic Four? And then shenanigans happen, and ultimately, because she ends up fighting the group that originally kidnapped and hurt her, and that's that section that Austin was talking about where they're like, hey, what's in it for us? Nobody's gonna actually see us in these battles, so we gotta have floating cameras so that we can broadcast this adventure. But she actually ends up doing most of the fighting because it's kind of like more her fight than theirs, and obviously she is understandably, very upset. And so we get to the end of that, and journalists show up at Latveria. Just like all of a sudden, all these cars are at Castle Von Doom, and they're like, or like right around there.
I think it's a castle in. I think they say it's upstate New York, because I think there's a point where they go, "Wait a minute, that is Doom's castle, but it's in the wrong place."
Oh, weird. Okay, I thought it was just Latveria.
Yeah, I think they say it's upstate New York, because I think there's a line, like I said, about it being in the wrong location.
Well, that makes a lot more sense then, because it's like, how did all these people get in helicopters and show up in Latveria? But and they drove up there's like cop cars that just drive up to the castle. So anyway, so then you've got Citizen V, you got Zemo, who's like thinking on his feet, and he's like, how am I going to explain this new person that's been fighting on our team? And what's her face? I'm trying to remember all these new characters.
Meteorite?
Meteorite, yeah. Kind of whispers in his ear because she's trying to manipulate him to get what she wants, and is like, why don't you have her join our crew? Because she's thinking it would be a lot smarter if he just said, well, we were helping her out with this horrible thing that happened to her, and then have her leave, because she's going to be a liability, because she'll be the only person on the team. They can't tell her that they're villains, and so she's going to be the only person on the team that doesn't know. And so Meteorite is thinking she can control the situation, and maybe it would be good to have this liability around that she can then screw Zemo with later. I think is what she's thinking. And so she gets him to do that, to announce that she's joined the team. So now she has to be on the team. So then they go back to the Baxter building, and she gets a superhero costume. They could have just given her regular clothes, but they have a machine that only makes superhero costumes. That's all it makes. And like, they had already decided she's on the team, but she probably would have just worn, like a skirt or a sweater or something for a bit. But no.
Well, she gets it before that too, like before she joins the team. She gets it on their way to Latveria. So she could be a person.
You're right.
But it's like, I know, you can't have clothes though. You kind of wear the
Thank you. That's what made it sillier, is it felt like she was a superhero in the first place. Yeah, so that she has a secret identity when she fights those guys. That's what it was. It's all running together.
No, it's okay. I mean, yeah, we read a lot. I get it.
Anyway, that just really freaking cracked me up.
Oh, that is really funny.
That is such a specific machine. It's the worst replicator.
It reminded me of the one from Secret Wars. Spider-Man, goes to the wrong machine and gets the black suit.
Oh,
where they're like,
yeah.
oh, it's just a machine in their base that gives you costumes. It reminds me of that.
Yeah, it's the worst replicator ever. It's like, why would you make a machine that's all it does?
Yeah, well, especially because like several of their members aren't wearing like cloth costumes. Like they're wearing like armory costumes.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So what did like Mach 1 get his like jetpack out of a machine that just makes superhero costumes? You know what? You know who else has that machine though?
What's that?
And I mean, it's not technically the same thing because it's part of a whole system that I guess would do more stuff. But it kind of feels like Tony Stark in his airplane in Spider-Man: Homecoming has this machine.
Oh yeah, the suit building thing he has in Far From Home.
Yeah, because Peter Parker goes up to a computer and has to pick what his suit's gonna look like.
That's true. Yeah, it's like his own little Lego customization thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if it works the same way.
Braden says that machine is pre-established.
It might be pre-established in FF. I'm not sure.
Maybe that's what they use to make their suits that have the molecules that go along with their costumes. I mean, they go along with their powers.
Maybe. That would also be weird because they have their costumes before they get that base. Because their first base is like an abandoned pizzeria.
Yeah. Which I thought they would stay at. Because that also seemed like a pretty like typical but fun TV thing where it's like we gotta have this weird quirky location that we operate out of.
Well, I like the bit where Techno is like, oh man, like the plumbing doesn't even work in this place. You guys won't even let me fix it. And Meteorite's like, well, no. If we have this like cool high tech base, they're not gonna give us things, dummy. We have to look poor.
Yeah, so like we have to get them to give us the Baxter Building.
Yeah, exactly. They need to give us stuff, which we start to get at the end of issue 5 here, where they fight the Growing Man.
Because Zemo almost gets them to give him Avengers files.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Which of course will continue, but just this fight to get information, and we get here that Shield won't give it to them.
Yeah, I like that there's a limit to what he can get away with.
Mm-hmm.
He's not
getting
exactly all the keys to the kingdom. And I also like how specific the situation is, where if they were trying to do this before everyone was desperate, they would not get away with nearly as much of it.
No.
Some of that's because there'd be more heroes around to question what was happening, and some of it is just because people are like that. This kind of speaks to human condition. People are going to look the other way a lot more when they're worried or when they feel alone.
Yeah. And then Joel kind of has the opposite, where it's like, oh, I've like found a family, like I'm so happy.
And so she's blind the other way.
Great. Exactly. Yeah.
She's blind. She's lulled into a false sense of security, and so she's got a naivety going the other direction.
Yeah, and then that also, of course, gives the team like a heart for them to kind of be around. That's gonna, have some drama around there moving forward.
Yeah, and probably positively affect some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to mention this page because I read this on a set of scans that were done in 2013, and apparently 13 or 14, that apparently had some really weird mistakes because all of the dialogue was left off this page. I sent this to Austin. I was like, "This must be a mistake," and he was like, he went back and looked. And he said, "Yeah, because the scans I'm looking at have all the words on it." And so I had to go back and I actually had to read the picture Austin sent me to find out what the dialogue is on this page, because this book is so wordy. I'm like, there's no way that all of a sudden, 4 issues in on page 10, it's going to be entirely action driven, especially when you have clear close-ups on faces where they must be talking.
Yeah. And then there's like a ton of text when you see it.
But I was kind of glad to get to see a page, like a sample like this, a page without any dialogue on it, because immediately you take all the balloons off, and I appreciate Bagley's art more. It actually feels less dated without all the dialogue balloons all over it.
Well, one thing, and it's part of why I've always appreciated his artwork, is it's so kinetic.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you can
he's so
follow
good
this
at
and tell what
action.
the action is. There is a little bit of exposition on this real page that matters. There's a thing about how Jolt has possibly, this is kind of Zemo speculation, but that Jolt seems to have a never-ending amount of energy because of the experiments on her, the power that she has. It's like there's important things that are talked about on this page.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll get that confirmed next issue, which is our downtime issue until the growing man shows up.
So I really like the downtime issue because I like the bait and switch the cover does, because it looks like it's going to be one of those issues that's just going to be character building, and they're just going to kind of like sit around and eat ice cream or something and talk about themselves. And there's a little bit of that at the start where there's, we were talking about romance. You get, you get kind of a date, if memory serves, with, sorry again, all this is running together.
That's okay.
With Atlas and the liaison chick that he's interested in, and I think that might even be the issue where, again, I gotta look at names again, where Songbird and who's the guy that's going after her?
Mach 1.
That's what it is. I kept, as I was reading it, I kept trying to remember if it was Mach 1 or Techno, and then later on it's pretty clear that it's obviously not Techno, because I think he might be like 20 years older than he's pretending to be. Like when you see his actual face, he's like this really brutish bald guy, and you're like, I think he's an older man.
He made himself look younger. It's very skeevy.
Yeah, it really is. So I'm glad that he's not going after her, I guess. But anyway, so there's this real kind of typical melodrama with them, where she's like, everyone I get close to, horrible things happen. And that was one of the things that reminded me of Rogue, where it's like, I can't get in a relationship, I have to stay away from men. And so they have a clear chemistry, and then they start to kiss, and he pursues her real hard. He's like, and he's got like the worst pickup lines. But because he goes, there's another move I want to make on you. And then like he leans in to kiss her, and then
that's why he's a foil for Johnny Storm.
Yeah, and then she makes out with him for a minute, and she's like, wait a minute, this is a horrible idea. And then in like classic Marvel fashion, can't just push him off, has to throw him and shoot songbird energy at him or whatever. And so anyway, I'm pretty sure that issue deals with both of those things, but it makes you think that it's going to be like the one issue with no action, and then it ends up just a few pages in being some of the biggest action that you get in all of it. And so I liked that it kind of turned the tables with that, where it's like, that's the issue where they literally fight the largest threat they fight in this. And because that's the issue with the growing man, and every time you hit the growing man, he grows more. And then you get this fun bit where they're trying to figure out how to, and that's where Zemo wants Avengers files, and where he thinks he can manipulate the government to give him those, because he's like, we gotta get the VHS tape with the episode in the Avengers where they fought this guy, so we can find out how they beat him. And the government will not, the Shield will not give him said VHS tape, and so they're trying to figure out how they're going to beat him, but they're like, well, we can't keep hitting him because he's just going to keep getting bigger. And then Techno's like, no, make him like way bigger so that I can get in there and have enough space so that I mess him up from the inside.
Yeah, and that's also where we start to see some of Zemo's facade end, where he's speaking to her over Skype, of course.
Yeah.
And And he's like, well, I need this so that we can be the growing man. And she's like, well, Shield said no, but like it's okay, like you guys won anyways. And Zemo is just kind of pissed off about it, and like is letting some of that energy through, where he's not going all the way, but there is just like an air of like, yeah, like you people are stupid, like you needed to give it to us now.
Okay, I was remembering this wrong. I thought this cover was making a big deal out of downtime. The cover actually sells it as a big action issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't remember what the cover was.
I don't know what made me think that. I guess it was just
maybe we're thinking of this page.
This page, because it's like growing pains, and we're fighting. And some of it I think was maybe at the end of last issue was like next issue, they're going to be out of uniform. Something makes a big deal out of they're going to be out of uniform.
Yeah, I think it does have that. And then that growing pains page is very does a mall baby eat chili fries or chili dogs, whatever it is. I can never remember. But
maybe it was chili fries. I thought it was chili dogs.
I think it's chili dogs. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the one thing that Jubilee has in common with Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, exactly. It's the one thing they got.
Yeah. That's why they're such a good power couple.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jubilee,
that's all you need.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
What other things do you need in common to be a good couple? Nothing.
Nothing really. Either Breakfast at Tiffany's or, which my wife and I finally watched last year. We were like, I don't understand that song now because neither of us cared for that movie. We were not real impressed.
I mean, even having not seen that movie, that song is baffling. It's like, we got nothing in common. We're probably gonna break up. I think we. What about this one movie? And then her response is, I think we both kind of liked it.
I want to mention this. It's been so long since they've seen it. They don't even know what happens in that movie. Okay, they don't even know.
Yeah, they just kind of like it.
Real quick, I wanted to mention this thing with Arnim Zola because I said earlier it's cool that it turns out that some of these villain teams they've been fighting were actually not random and were sent by Zola. I also like how simple the plot is, though. It would have been so easy for this to get really convoluted and for him to like try to tie together all these threads retroactively in a really overly complicated way. And I like this kind of motif of villains that do what they're doing just because they can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, like, Zemo himself kind of has that. And then Arnim Zola is like, finally we have this big question, like, why did you do all of this? And he's like, science. He's like, just I wasn't doing anything else. I had some downtime. And so
it's like what Zemo was doing. I don't know, I was bored.
Yeah, I was bored. And so Zola's like, I'm gonna do this elaborate scheme where I'm abducting kids off the street and doing horrible experiments on them because I have nothing better to do. And I like that Busiek is highlighting that, because if that's the world, and we know villains do that in the Marvel Universe, if that's the world we're in, he's got to convince us that people like that would form a superhero team. Mm-hmm. And like, why would they do that? How does that happen? And so it's just, again, this practical stuff in just like really thoughtfully figuring out motivations in a world where there's a lot of silly, ridiculous things that happen. And so it's fun to have that juxtaposition of over-the-top weirdness and mustache-twirling Saturday morning cartoon characters that also are somehow kind of people.
Yeah. Well, you also, I really like the moment with the Thinker in issue 2 where he kidnaps Franklin Richards. not Danny DeVito's character from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He kidnaps Franklin
With some of the
Richards.
worst phonetic dialogue I've ever read.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love it. And, he's like, my whole plan is I'm gonna like go into his brain, and surely he's like just been around Reed's like science and plans and stuff that like subconsciously it'll just be in there.
Yes!
And he explains this to Zemo, and Zemo's just like, oh my god, that's brilliant. I mean, I'm definitely gonna stop you. Like, you didn't think of that. But like, there's this part where like the villain
Yes.
side of him comes out, and he's like, oh god, that's so smart.
I thought it was funny that everybody was like, I don't understand why a villain would be after this kid. And I'm like, the only stories I've ever read, and I'm not a big Fantastic Four guy, admittedly, the only stories I've ever read that involve Franklin Richards, including the MCU movie, he's like the pinnacle of everything. He's like the most important being that was ever born. And I'm reading a comic in 1997 that's going, I don't know, it's just Reed Richards' kid. I don't know what the big deal is.
Yeah, what's he gonna do?
I think that's so funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is really funny.
He's been a MacGuffin in everything I've read, including this. But nobody knows why he's important. But then here, it's not because he's got like amazing powers, or because he might have, you know, a grand intellect because of who his father is. No, it's because he might subconsciously remember stuff his dad said.
Yeah. But see,
and what I love about that is that's not how memory works. That's not at all how memory works. It's like, if subconsciously or otherwise, if you don't understand what a person said, the actual words probably aren't going to stick with you. Unless I don't understand enough about how the brain works, and if you're if somebody says something to you, it's in there somewhere. I don't think that's how it works, though.
See, he's the mad thinker. He knows. He knows how the brain works. He knows how to think.
But have you ever had this, Austin, where
What's that?
where you have a dream where like a scientist or a doctor or someone is explaining something to you that you know you can't possibly know, and then you wake up and you go, man, I wonder what nonsense that person was saying in my dream. Because I don't know how that works. So there's no possible, but like, as you're hearing it, it makes perfect sense. And you're like, wow, that's over my head. But you wake up and you realize that was in your head.
I love dream logic. That's some of my favorite stuff about dreams. Absolutely.
I've had that where I'll wake up and I'll be like, man, if only I could remember what that was and write it down, I'm pretty sure I'm a genius. It's probably gobbledygook, but it seemed real at the time.
Well, I think so much just in my regular day about just dumb dream logic that it's like started to affect my dreams, where it's like something stupid will happen and I'll be like, it's definitely a dream. That's dumb dream logic. And just keep going.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I like this book a lot. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
I did. It's the kind of thing, admittedly, that I probably wouldn't have read past a couple issues, like back in the day when it came out, if I looked at it, because it's not right away my thing, and I think it initially looks kind of generic because it intentionally is with the costumes and stuff, where it's like these established characters that are pretending to be new characters, and they have really, goofy costumes, and they're making up new superheroes. So I would have looked at this back in the 90s and been like, I don't know any of these characters. So I don't care. But looking at it now, I really appreciated it. I own one Thunderbolts thing from around this period, by the way. And
cool.
I think I actually read this when I got it. I think somebody gave me this for like my birthday or Christmas or something, the year this came out. This is 1999. And so it is this team, or at least some of this team. And when I read this, I must have been so confused because I wouldn't have even had a visual on who any of these characters were. But this is an original novel, so this is not a adaptation of anything. This is an original novel. It's Avengers Thunderbolts by Piers Askegren, who is not a writer I know. And this is after the Thunderbolts are outed, and about some of the characters that continue to be superheroes. And so I assume that this is in a period where several new characters have joined the team, because looking at a list of the first run Thunderbolts, there are a bunch of characters that aren't here yet that will show up later on, even past Hawkeye. And Hawkeye's on the cover, so he's leading the team already by this point. But anyway, I read this 25 years ago.
Oh, fascinating.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It suddenly hit
that
me
must have
reading
been just,
this.
like, jumping in the deep end.
I know. Yeah, because you're just reading prose. You don't even know what any of the characters look like. And I mean, like, they give you a black and white drawing at the start of every chapter, but it's not fully illustrated or anything.
Yeah, fascinating.
And Zemo's in this. But he's not leading the team anymore, so he's probably the villain of this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he kind of sticks around in this book for a while, even after that. And it's just kind of there. We check in on him every now and then. Like I said, that's where you get like that weird Winter Soldier stuff.
I'll read the blurb on the back of this. And maybe at some point I'll go back and reread this now that I know who some of these characters are. The Avengers' greatest foes, the Masters of Evil, were gathered by Baron Zemo to pose as heroes under the name of the Thunderbolts. See, I know that now because I read this book. To win the world's trust in order to eventually rule it. After the Thunderbolts were exposed, several members of the team tried to truly become heroes despite their checkered past. Now Baron Zemo has a new plot that has him joining forces with Strucker and the hordes of Hydra, and the Avengers and Thunderbolts must put aside their differences in order to stop the greater threat of Zemo's. So yeah, Zemo is the bad guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think that just is an original story. I don't remember that specifically. But I might just not be remembering something.
No, it definitely is its own thing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it would just be like more of an adaptation of like when Hawkeye takes over or what. Because there is some Avengers stuff. Like there is kind of debate about whether or not he should do that.
Yeah. Oh, and Bagley drew the pictures that are in this book.
Oh, cool.
In this novel, I should say. Because I always say book when we mean comic, but this is a paperback. Anyway.
Yeah, and I mean he's on this book for a while, so that makes sense.
Overall, what do you think of the origin issue?
I really like it. I like the whole, like false, story kind of thing, where he's telling one story that is not actually what happened. I think all that's really cool, and it's neat to kind of see where each of these characters started. I specifically really like the Screaming Mimi bit.
Yeah,
like her whole thing with her boyfriend that dies is really tragic.
Yeah, that was the character that I felt like was most illuminated by that.
Yeah, definitely.
I was glad we had that. I questioned it for the first few pages where I was like, I don't actually know if I need to see any of this dramatized. Like, I wondered about it at first. And then by the end, I was glad that we had it. That is also a thing that felt very TV. Just in structure, and again, not in a horrible way, but just we've gotten to know these characters for a bit, and now we're going to go back and we're going to see how all this mess began. Like Firefly has that episode. Like a lot of TV does that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, that's like your way of doing like kind of half a bottle episode, where like half of it will be that person kind of talking in one room.
Her look before she becomes Songbird is probably part of what made you think Harley Quinn.
She's like a mix of this is a mix I don't think anyone has ever thought of, but it's a weird triple mix of Harley Quinn, like a Gem and the Holograms member, and Kermit the Frog. And that is like
true.
I don't know how we like so perfectly put these three things together, but we did.
Yeah, with the thing on her neck, it's like Kermit the Frog. That's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
Although her like skin tight, skimpy green outfit also reminds me of the Enchantress.
Sure, yeah.
You go back and look at the original Enchantress suit from Thor.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Daredevil. She's always a big deal when somebody you know shows up. That annual is interesting because it's handled by like 8 different artists.
Yeah, like Perez does like 3 pages. Like,
yeah,
you get to the end credits and it's like this artist did like 2 pages, then this artist did 2 pages, and this one did 3, then like 6. Then
each character
it's
gets
crazy.
or each artist, I should say, gets a section, and so you have a bunch of different artists that end up doing it, and it's not jarring. Like, I was actually surprised there were that many artists because I wasn't even thinking about it. There were a couple places where I was like, oh, it shifted.
Yeah. No,
and
then the art looks really good. Like,
then I got to the end and I was like, oh, it's
different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get this like Winsor Smith type circuitry, but it's not Winsor Smith
Well,
doing
I think
it.
that's specifically. I think that is the Perez part.
Is it?
I think so.
I didn't look real close at who did what section.
Mm-hmm. That was the only one I looked at because I was like, wait, George Perez did some of this?
Yeah, there they are.
What did he do?
And then you have that many inkers too. Yeah, that is the press section. You're right. And like Gene Colan did a section. Tom Grummett did a section.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. But then of course Busiek wrote all of it. They didn't have different writers come in to do each section.
Okay, now script this these 2 pages. Yeah, it'd be pretty hard.
I'll just say this real quick because nobody will care about this, but I've been rewatching through Stargate Atlantis, and there's this weird episode where they have like 9 or 10 different writing credits, and it's like this, but with this it was art, where because you see all this credits at the beginning of the episode, and I'm like, what is this episode going to be that it needed this many different writers? Because it's got one guy for story, and then all these different writers, and then throughout it. They have all these different characters doing video letters to home because they're finally going to be able to send information back through the Stargate back to Earth. And they had different writers come in to write each of the different characters.
Oh, weird.
Like, I'm not sure why they did that.
Yeah, that is strange.
But it just reminded me of that.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated this. I only skimmed it because we were bumping up against time here, but at the end of that annual, it breaks down the backgrounds of all of the original Thunderbolts and who they were before they joined, and I kind of wish we'd had this at the end of the first issue.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
Because by the time you get it here, we've lived with these characters for a while, and I'm not sure that it would have been spoiling too much to let us have this up front, where it's like, okay, now you know all these characters are people that you've maybe seen before or heard of or something, but like pre-established characters. Here's who they actually are.
Yeah. No, I mean that would have been a cool place to do it as well.
But anyway, well, this was very informational, like, and I enjoyed it. Like, it was fun to read. And I almost always like Busiek. He's very consistent for me. Some of my favorite stuff in comics is Busiek. Like, I'm a gigantic Marvels fan. I usually like Busiek.
Mm-hmm. No, he's a great writer. He's always, like you said, a good one to read from.
And he's a nice guy. I took a selfie with him once.
He's a nerd.
And I took a selfie with him once, and everybody on Facebook said that he looked like an older version of me. That he looked like I could have been his son. Yeah, it was really funny.
That is really funny.
But yeah, he's a nice guy.
Yeah. But yeah, what are you doing for your next pick, or do you know what it is yet?
I was between a couple of things because it occurred to me that we haven't gotten back to Death of Superman, because we did months ago now. We did Funeral for a Friend, and I was like, at some point we probably should start on. Because we can't do it all at once. There's so much of it, but we should probably do Reign of the Superman. But then I threatened last time to jump ahead and do some of Blue Superman, and that is right around this time. And we did Supergirl last time, which is 96, 97. So I think maybe we should stay in this period, in this range, and get into the origin of Electric Blue Superman. I was with that even jumping back and forth between should we do that or should we do Superman Red, Superman Blue, but I think you probably want to read the ridiculous origin of that, because I mean it's not going to make any more sense when you read it, but at least you'll have seen it happen.
Yeah, no, I don't know anything about Superman Blue, so that's going to be fascinating.
So spoiler alert, you're not going to like that, but it will be I don't think but it will be amusing to read and talk about, and I think that will probably be your threshold where you'll be like, okay, here's 90s art that is indicative of what everybody says when they're talking about 90s art, because there is
issues
some
with it,
phoned in stuff.
Oh, beautiful.
During that era of Superman. I think that's what I'm going to pick for next time.
Okay, sounds good. And
I gotta figure out like what the issues are and how much of it to read, because that's one of those things that jumps between books. So I'll figure out what the trades are, and we'll read some 5-6 issues probably.
Yeah, no, sounds good. And then my next pick will be issues 6 to 12 of this.
We'll come back to this and finish the story.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm excited to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I figure at least that initial Zemo stuff is a good sampler.
I'm glad I liked this, so that's not going to be a chore, because
if you really hated this, I would have just been like, okay, never mind, don't worry about it, we won't do that.
Well, I appreciate that. No, and I actually really liked it, but this is the kind of thing where I need 20-30 minutes an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And I slow down too when it's just characters that I'm not super familiar with.
Yeah, especially I know for me especially, it took me a couple issues to be like, okay, these are all the characters, and now that I've read so much with them, I know them well. I mean, I even forgot Techno's name today, so even I can be bad about it. But
yeah, every time we would introduce,
I know them pretty well now.
New characters that I thought might be important, I was writing them down, and I don't usually do that, but there was enough going on in this. I was like, list them out so that I can at least come back and refer to them. Yeah,
definitely. But now you will be ready for Williamson's Iron Man to find out whoever that new Citizen V is.
Yeah, I'm excited to look at one panel and go, I've heard of that.
Oh, wait a minute, that's not Zemo.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. We sure appreciate it. I'm going to be back tomorrow night with my usual new comic show, Comic Book Late Night Unlimited, and Austin might be filling in for Chris for that show, but even if he's not, he'll be there for at least a segment talking about new books, and I think we're going to do a newer Swamp Thing book. Isn't that what we were talking about?
Yeah, because there was an issue with finding the Resident Evil book.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that tomorrow night. But I was trying to remember, because you had asked us to do a thing, and now you might actually be reviewing it. But I was trying to remember, was that Swamp? I think that was Swamp Thing.
Yeah, it was Green Hell.
Green Hell, that's what it was, yeah. Which is going to be appropriate for me, because every time I read Swamp Thing and they start rambling on about the green, it feels like hell. So,
how do you feel about the red, though?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, there are like different colors on that spectrum.
Well, then it might be like Green Lantern where suddenly I appreciate it. I don't know what it is. I'm just like a little child sometimes where it's like, ooh, bright, pretty colors. Like it's the Power Rangers fan of me, I guess, because I never cared about Green Lantern until Jeff Johns did the Spectrum, and then I was like, ah, that's so cool. It was fun when there were lots of different colors. So like, I don't care about the green, but if there's also the red and the orange or whatever, like I might like it more. I don't know. I don't know what that is. And it's also weird because it starts with green. They both do that.
That is true, yeah. No, red is like Flash. I think it's the black, I think, is like Rot. Then blue is Water, which isn't in that book, but it's in the new Aquaman book.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
So there's like kind of a spectrum.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, where it's like these are the things that balance life.
Cool. I don't know why I gravitate toward that.
Especially the red. Always the red.
Yeah, I'm all about that. No, I'm more excited now. Anyway, well, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin, the Day Ghost.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, folks.